Come here. Go around. Go around. Go around. Go around. Come on, go around. Good girl. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys, so can't even see that, can you? Let me see. Well, gonna have to make do, I guess. So we got the roof. We got, let's see, what the hell do we have? So this distance is 8 and 9 3/4. And it looks like it's 19 and 11/16 long. I believe that's so it overhangs front and back and off the sides. And so the roof basically, well, let me start with the quilt. So the quilt is just a little box, okay, and it's going to have a fabric on the bottom, like burlap sack is what I think they're one of the things they recommend. And so it's just a box, just a square with burlap sack on the bottom, and then I'm going to fill it full of cedar shavings, and that's going to give it some type of a kind of like an insulation, but also a humidity control type thing, I believe. Anyway, and so that's covered with the burlap sack, and then that fits, if I'm not mistaken, inside of this. It's either in, and so you'll notice this little dotted line here. Man, I hope you can see this, guys. And so this dotted line on the sides of this right here, so this goes up and it's 6 and 5/16 to here, and then it goes up whatever distance that is, and that's your 8, 9 and 3/4 from here to here, and then you got your 6 on the other side. And so then this part rests on top of here. It's going to get screwed directly to here, and this will be screwed to here, and then this piece is going to be screwed on top, so it'll shed the water off this way and this way, but there'll be a vent hole. Now, not only is there going to be that vent hole, but down here on the side, you'll see that this is only 4 23/32. And so you got 2 inches and change sitting here between where the gable, or whatever you call that part, comes over. And then that's where this is. And there's going to be a piece of mouse board, is what they call it. I don't know exactly what mouse board is. I'm thinking it's just a little thin piece of wood. But that's going to run across. And so then the quilt is either going to be stuffed inside there, or it's going to be directly underneath of it. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to, so you can download this PFD or PDF yourself. Anyway, so that's the roof. Then there's the quilt. Then there's the boxes. Now the boxes are kind of the most important part. Now what's neat about this type of a beehive is, but like a Langstroth beehive, you have your frames, and inside those frames you put some type of a material there to stimulate the honeycomb, and that's what the bees start building their comb off of. But in this one, it's not going to have that. So you just basically got a square box, and then you'll see this little lip right here, and there's one on the other side. I didn't bother drawing it out, but it's the same thing on the other side. And then you got this little slat right here. It's 11/32 thick. It's 15/16. It's almost an inch wide, not quite an inch wide, and it's 12 3/8 inches long. And that's gonna sit right down on top of that slat. There's 8 of those, and then I think they're 15 32. I don't know. Anyway, there's a certain amount of distance between them. Do the math. Anyway, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set those on there. And I've got some beeswax. I've got these little beeswax pellets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to melt some down. And then I'm just going to run a strip on the underside of each one of these slats. And then you just put them in there. And there's a gap so the bees can climb through those slats. And then they can enter the next box. And so what they'll do is they'll start building honeycomb right there at the top on each one of these. And it'll just hang down. And when it gets to that next box, naturally they'll leave a slot. They call it bee space. That's what Warré calls it in his manual, which he writes that he wrote a beekeeping manual. I'll link that as well. But anyhow, so the bee space, they leave a gap between the honeycomb from the one box to the next box. And so you could do as many as you want. I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do 4 boxes. That's the basic, just to see how it goes. And then on the bottom you got the floor, and that's basically just a 13 1/4 by 13 1/4 square. And then you can see it's cut back here, and there's another piece 6 5/16, and that's slapped on the bottom there. And then you got a 2 inch by 13 1/4 on each side. Now, I didn't bother drawing the legs out, but you're gonna have to set this on something. And so you could put legs, or I'll probably take a couple pallets or something simple, or a stump or whatever. But point is it's going to be sitting on something off the ground. And then this right here is where the bees come in. And now on a Langstroth, you've got what do they call it, a reducer? Anyway, and then you got to put something else over it to keep the pests out, like, you know, the rats and all that stuff. With this kind, you don't need to mess with that. It's just got this little hole here. The bees come in, and it's all capped off. You got up here at the top, you know, you've got your quilt. And so the bees can't get past that. And anyway, so that's what we're doing. I just started. I finished cutting some slabs of cedar here. Cedars, they say pine, cedar. I happen to have lots of cedar. I got tons of the stuff. It's everywhere. So I just cut my boxes here. You can see my handy dandy square I made. I didn't have a square. Yes, I know I could go buy one for $5, but I made that fucker myself. And thus, it's better than the ones you buy. This is going to be the base of my hive. I need a 13.25 inch square. And so you take root 2 times 13.25, that gives you 18 3/4. Good stuff. So before I go, there's a couple that are celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary. The wife decides to go out and she's going to do something special for her husband. And so she decides to go to the the adult store and take a look around. And first she's overwhelmed by all the massive amount of gadgets and gizmos, and she finally settles on a pair of crotchless panties. So she goes home, she gets cleaned up, she puts on her crotchless panties, and she climbs into bed. And when her husband comes in, she says, "Happy anniversary, honey. You want some of this, don't you?" And he looks and gets a horrified look on his face, and he says, "Fuck no! Look what it done to your panties!"